This is lesson 9, and it's also our final lesson in our astronomy unit, and this lesson is titled The Solar System, Part 2. At the end of this lesson, you're going to be able to identify the last 4 planets in our solar system and state facts for each one. If you remember the last lesson, we learned about the first 4 planets, the inner planets. This lesson, we will learn about the last 4 planets, and as you can guess, those will be called the outer planets. Before we start reading, there are some vocabulary words you will need to be familiar with while you listen to this reading. The first one is categorize, which means to sort or put into a group with other similar objects. Debris, the pieces left over when something is destroyed or broken. Outer, far from the center, the outside of something. Probes, tools designed to collect information in outer space and send it back to Earth. And violent, dangerously rough. Now, in the last read aloud, we have learned about the 4 inner planets of our solar system, also called terrestrial planets. In order, they were Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Now, in this lesson, we are going to be learning about the outer planets, also called gaseous planets. And in order, those are Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, as well as the famous dwarf planet Pluto. But we will get to that a little bit later. The first important difference between the inner planets and the outer planets is that the inner planets are all made up of rocks and metals, whereas the outer planets are made up of different types of gases, which is why, in addition to calling them inner and outer planets, the inner planets are also called terrestrial and the outer planets are also called gaseous planets. The planet Jupiter is the 5th planet from the Sun, coming directly after Mars. In Roman mythology, Jupiter was the king of the gods, the strongest and most powerful of all. The largest planet in our solar system is also named after him. Jupiter is so big that you could stuff about 1,300 planet Earths inside of it. It takes Jupiter nearly 12 Earth years to make one revolution around the sun. However, Jupiter rotates on its axis faster than any other planet in the solar system. This massive planet rotates all the way around on its axis in less than 10 hours. Jupiter is made mostly of hydrogen and other gases. Because of its fast rotation and the mixing of its gases, Jupiter is an extremely violent and stormy place. The best known feature on Jupiter is its large red spot. This spot is actually a massive storm. The storm is so big that you could fit 3 planet Earths inside of just the storm. Jupiter can be seen with the naked eye from Earth, and sometimes you can even see its red spot with an ordinary telescope. Our planet Earth has 1 moon. We learned in the last lesson that Mars has 2 moons. There are at least 63 moons in orbit around Jupiter. Most of them are very small. However, 4 of these moons are very well known, and those are pictured here. They were all discovered first by the famous astronomer Galileo. These are easily visible with a pair of binoculars. Each is interesting in its own way, particularly Europa, this one right here. The small one in the upper right corner, right here. Europa is slightly smaller than our own moon, and yet, for many astronomers, it is one of the most fascinating celestial bodies in the solar system. Europa's surface is covered in ice, and its atmosphere contains a lot of oxygen. Many astronomers believe that beneath Europa's ice, there is an ocean of liquid water. This means that maybe, just maybe, there is some form of life on this distant little moon. The next planet in our solar system after Jupiter is Saturn. It's the 6th planet from the Sun. It is also the 2nd largest planet in our solar system, although it is much smaller than Jupiter. Saturn is famous for its rings. It is not the only planet with rings, but no other planet has rings like Saturn's. This incredible photo was taken by an unmanned orbiter in 2004. Saturn has several layers with different types of clouds, and it is quite stormy, though not as stormy as its neighbor Jupiter. Because it is so far from the Sun, it takes Saturn nearly 30 Earth years to make one complete orbit. Different parts of Saturn rotate at different speeds, but for the most part, Saturn rotates on its axis very quickly, taking a little over 10 hours to complete one rotation. This is a close-up of Saturn's rings. The rings of Saturn are always moving around the planet, and they are made up mainly of ice and a few other types of materials. The rings are basically huge collections of dust with some larger chunks here and there. Nobody is sure how the rings got there. Some astronomers believe the rings were formed when Saturn's moon exploded and the debris became trapped in its orbit. Others say that the material in the rings is left over from the time when Saturn was formed billions of years ago. You can see Saturn from Earth during certain times of the year, and with an ordinary telescope, you can even see these rings. The seventh planet, next planet up, is called Uranus, and it has the coldest atmosphere of any planet in the solar system. Because it is so far from the sun, it takes Uranus 84 Earth years to make one complete orbit. Uranus is made up of hydrogen, but its atmosphere also contains a lot of ice and other substances not found on Jupiter or Saturn. Uranus is named after a Greek god of the sky, making it the only planet other than Earth that is not named after a Roman god. Although it is possible to see Uranus from Earth with the naked eye, you really do have to know where and when to look for it because it appears very dim or not very bright from here on Earth. Uranus has one very special characteristic. It rotates on its side. You can see in this image, but in comparison to Earth and the other planets, Uranus's axis is sideways, as though someone turned the planet on its side. The planet Neptune is the eighth and final major planet in our solar system. In Roman mythology, Neptune was the god of the sea, so this is a very fitting name given that the planet's beautiful blue color. Astronomers still do not know exactly why Neptune is blue, and it will probably be a while before they figure it out. That is because Neptune is nearly 3 billion miles from the sun, making it very difficult and expensive to send unmanned probes to explore it. It takes Neptune nearly 165 Earth years to orbit the sun. The planet is never visible to the naked eye from Earth, and you will need a fairly powerful telescope to get a good view of its beautiful color. Not so very long ago, students in school were taught that there were 9 planets in the solar system instead of 8, and this included Pluto. In fact, ever since Pluto was discovered in 1930, it has been considered a planet. However, in 2006, astronomers decided to categorize Pluto as a dwarf planet, one of several such bodies in our solar system. In Roman mythology, Pluto was the god of the underworld, a dark and dreary place. This is a good name for such a cold and distant dwarf planet. Pluto is about 4 billion miles from the sun, so it is extremely cold and dark out there. The planet is made almost entirely of frozen nitrogen. Nitrogen is a type of gas, and nitrogen is even found in Earth's atmosphere. It takes Pluto about 243 Earth years to orbit the sun. We have a lot to learn about Pluto, as well as other celestial bodies, in the outer reaches of our solar system, but it is not easy to explore this area. For now, this is about the best photo that we have of Pluto, and it was taken from 3 billion miles away by a special spacecraft called the Hubble Space Telescope. So far, Pluto remains unexplored. A special probe was launched toward Pluto in the year 2003. And it was expected to reach the planet in 2015, a few years ago. So that was all 8 planets. We have 8 main planets, 8 major planets. Pluto is an extra dwarf planet that is not considered part of our planets in our solar system. It used to be, but now it got declassified as a dwarf planet. So we talked this lesson about the 4 outer planets, the 4 gaseous planets, the largest planets in our solar system. And in order, those are Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. If you need to review any of the information found in this lesson, please do so now. Once you are finished, please return to Seesaw and complete the final activity in our astronomy domain.